Welcome back to the deep dive. Usually when we start these conversations, we try to ease you into it.
Yeah, give people a minute to settle in.
Right. We talk about the weather or maybe the coffee we were drinking, or we make a little joke about the news to just kind of warm things up.
Standard pleasantries.
Exactly. But today we are taking a major cue from our source material, and we are just skipping all of that. We are kicking the door down.
We are absolutely kicking the door down, and frankly, considering the entity we are discussing today, he wouldn't have it any other way.
Not a chance.
Yeah.
So I want you to picture the scene. It is a Monday night. The time is exactly 9 p.m. The date is June 24th, 1968.
Summer in Elmira, New York.
Yes, Elmira, New York. You are sitting in a quiet living room. And suddenly, the energy in that room shifts from a peaceful, quiet evening at home to, well, a high-octane boardroom pitch meeting in the span of a single second.
It is so startling when you read the transcript. And for anyone who follows the Seth Material, which is what we are diving deep into today, this is session 418.
From the early sessions, book 8.
Right. And usually with these sessions, there is a bit of a ramp-up period. Jane Roberts, the medium, goes into her trance. She takes off her glasses. Maybe Seth comes through and says a polite good evening.
But not tonight. Tonight is different.
Entirely different. The notes from Rob Butts, who was Jane's husband and the one taking the dictation, are very specific about this. He writes that Seth plunged in a most animated way without any preliminary greeting whatsoever.
I just love the visual of that. The notes say his voice was loud, his eyes were wide open, he was very active, intimate, and humorous.
It is like when your best friend bursts into your apartment at midnight because they just had a breakthrough on a project they've been stuck on for years.
That is exactly the vibe. It is urgent, it is bursting with creative energy. But before we get to the actual what of his big idea, I do need to handle a quick bit of housekeeping.
Right, the legal stuff.
Because we are dealing with copyrighted material here, and we really want to be respectful of that legacy. So for the record, I have to explicitly declare that this podcast is distributed free of charge on all major platforms for educational purposes.
We are here to analyze, to discuss, and hopefully to entertain you, but we are definitely not the source itself.
No, the source is the Seth Material, which is published by the New Awareness Network. And if you find yourself intrigued by the wild things we are about to talk about today, and I highly suspect you will be, you really should go straight to the source.
Absolutely. You can find these books at the New Awareness Network website and bookstore. That is sethcenter.com/the early sessions.
Please do that. Support the preservation of this incredible material. Okay, housekeeping is officially done. Let us get back to that living room in 1968.
The door has been kicked down.
Seth bursts in. He is loud, he is wide-eyed, and he has a pitch.
He wants to write a book.
Which, I mean, on the surface, that sounds like the setup to a joke, right? A ghost walks into a publisher's office.
It really does. But his angle on this is genuinely unique. He basically says to Rob, look, every single book written about mediumship or channeling is written from the outside.
Right. It is usually written by the human involved. Books like My Life with Spirits or How I Learned to Talk to the Dead. It is all about the human experience of receiving the signal.
Exactly. It is the receiver's manual. But Seth wants to write the broadcaster's manual.
That is a great way to put it.
He proposes a psychological study of mediumship from the perspective of the personality speaking through the medium, not the medium herself. And he outright says, now, that has never been done.
I want to pause here for a second because the implications of this are just wild.
Yeah.
He is talking about the actual mechanics of how he does what he does.
He is not relying on magic or mysticism.
No. He is saying there is a literal technique to infiltrating a human nervous system and making it speak.
He uses very specific, almost clinical language for it. He talks about activating associative patterns.
Associative patterns. That sounds so, I don't know, computational.
It does. But think about it from his claimed perspective. If you are a non-physical consciousness, you do not have vocal cords. You do not have a tongue or lungs.
You are just pure data, essentially.
Right. So you have to hijack or borrow the biological machinery of the medium. But you cannot just press a button and make them talk. You have to navigate their brain's internal filing system.
So if Seth wants to communicate the concept of an apple, he has to go into Jane's brain, find where she stores the word apple, and trigger that specific neural pathway.
Essentially, yes.
Yeah.
And he wants to write an entire book explaining the sheer difficulty of doing that, how he translates his raw, non-physical concepts into her specific, limited English vocabulary.
It is a book about the engineering of telepathy.
Exactly. And Rob, who is trying to be the supportive husband and the logical one in the room, makes the mistake of underestimating the scope of this project.
Oh, this part is so funny.
Rob says something like, hey, that would make a great chapter in Jane's own book.
And Seth gets so offended by that?
He really does. The transcript notes say he looked aggrieved but smiling. That is such a specific facial expression to imagine on someone in a trance.
It is the ultimate, look.
He shoots back, I had much more than a mere chapter in mind. He had a complete, dedicated book in mind. He calls it an original document and claims it would be stranger than fiction.
Which, to be fair to Seth, is entirely true. A technical manual written by an entity without a body is definitely nonfiction that reads exactly like science fiction.
But there is a very practical reason he wants to do this, too. It is not just about his ego or proving a point.
Right, it is about structure. He mentions that dictating this book during their regular sessions would solve organizational problems.
That is so brilliantly mundane. I absolutely love it. Even advanced spirits need good project management.
It gives their meetings a roadmap. Instead of him just showing up and them chatting about whatever comes to mind, they have a job to do. Okay, tonight we are writing chapter 3. It focuses the energy.
But then they hit a massive logistical snag. Seth obviously doesn't have hands. He cannot sit at a typewriter.
So he needs Jane to speak the words, and he needs Rob to sit there and write them all down.
And he needs to do it specifically during their designated session time. He explicitly says, Ruburt, which is his personal name for Jane, would not let me inside his own writing hours.
I find this boundary setting so fascinating. Jane Roberts was a legitimate writer. She had her own novels she was working on, her own poetry.
She was a professional.
And she basically set a hard rule with this entity. Tuesday morning is for my writing. You stay out.
It shows such a healthy psychological separation. She isn't possessed by Seth. She is working partner. And Seth actually respects that professional boundary. He acknowledges he cannot intrude on her creative time.
So Rob, looking down the barrel of this massive undertaking, asks the question any of us would ask. Should we really make this deal? It sounds like an incredible amount of work and time.
And this is where Seth drops just the best line of the night.
The timeline, quote.
Yes. Rob is visibly worried about the schedule and the sheer hours this will take. And Seth, with his incredibly dry, immortal wit, says there is no reason why other such books could not follow.
And then,
Humorously, he adds, I have the time.
I have the time, because linear time literally does not exist for him.
It is the ultimate flex. Your stress about deadlines and aging. I have eternity. We can take as long as we need.
But let us dig a little deeper into who is actually saying this, because in this exact same segment, Seth drops a conceptual bomb that I think is the absolute key to understanding the entire Seth material.
He introduces the concept of the psychological bridge personality.
Yes. This is the moment where our deep dive really earns its name, because most people approaching this material for the first time just think Seth is the name of a ghost.
Right, like, hi, I am Bob. I am a ghost from the 1800s. Hi, I am Seth.
But Seth says, no, that is not what I am. He says, your reality cannot include all that I am.
Stop right there for a second. Your reality cannot include all that I am. What does that actually mean in practice?
It means his true, unfiltered consciousness is too massive, too multidimensional, or perhaps just too alien for our physical, three-dimensional reality to contain.
If he tried to shove his entire self into Jane's body, or even just into that living room, it wouldn't fit. It might even blow out the circuits, so to speak.
So he has to compress himself.
Think of it like a computer interface. The internet is this massive, chaotic, incomprehensible flow of raw data. But you interact with it through a web browser. The browser isn't the internet itself.
It is a tool.
Right.
Yeah.
It translates the raw code into buttons and text and images that your human brain can actually understand and interact with.
So Seth, the personality with the dry wit and the loud voice, is essentially a browser.
Exactly. He calls it a psychological bridge. He deliberately constructs a persona that Rob and Jane can relate to. He builds a bridge halfway across the void to meet them.
That implies that the personality we are listening to is a fabrication. Not a lie exactly, but a deliberate construct.
A user interface. And he explains that sometimes this bridge is built using what he calls rubble from Jane's own subconscious.
Rubble.
Yes, he uses her own psychological blocks, her vocabulary, her memories, as the raw material to pave the road for him to walk on.
That is just wild to me. I cannot even wrap my head around it. He is scavenging her mind to build a phone line to talk to her husband.
And he admits that sometimes the connection is clear, meaning he stands apart from her and it's purely him. But other times, the bridge is a mix. It is a true collaboration between his energy and her physical makeup.
It really challenges our fundamental idea of the self. We all think our personality is who we are at our core, but Seth is saying personality is just the outfit you wear to the party so people recognize you.
It is the vehicle you drive. It is not the driver.
So we have this incredibly high-level philosophical discussion happening. Seth is proposing a book, he is explaining the complex architecture of his own soul, and then, without any warning, he takes a hard left turn.
A very hard, very sudden left turn.
He goes from professor of metaphysics to private investigator in about 3 seconds flat.
He really does. He abruptly changes the entire subject to verify his own existence.
And I think this pivot is crucial. Because you can listen to all that bridge personality stuff and easily say, well, that is nice philosophy, but maybe Jane is just an imaginative writer making it all up.
Right. It is abstract. It is entirely unprovable. It is just words.
But then Seth says, let us talk about the man at Prentice Hall. Now, this is Tam Mossman, who was an editor there.
And Seth just starts rattling off data points. And I want to be clear, this isn't vague horoscope-style stuff like, oh, I sense a presence of an older man. This is a highly specific list.
Let us go through that list, because the sheer specificity of it is what gives you the chills.
First, he gets initials. J, A, B. He says those letters are coming to him. Then he gets a name, Alice. He says, I believe there is an Alice connected with your Mr. Mossman.
Then he names another editor outright, Grossman.
Yes, Cecile Grossman.
Then he dives into family history. He sees an Albert, an uncle. He clearly sees a 1962 engagement or marriage.
He sees a grandmother connected with a star. He suggests the name might be Bright.
Bright, like a bright star. There is that associative pattern he was just talking about working in real time.
Exactly. He is decoding a symbol he sees into an English word, but then the hits get a bit darker. He mentions 2 brothers and something wrong with one leg.
And a disagreeable family situation in 1953.
Why include the bad stuff? Why bring up the bad leg or the family fight?
Because the truth is messy. If he were just trying to be comforting or tell them what they want to hear, he would say everyone is happy and smiling down on them.
But he's viewing reality. And reality includes bad legs and family arguments from 15 years ago. It adds a gritty layer of credibility.
And then he somehow transports himself or his vision into the actual Prentice Hall office. This is the part that really got me. He starts describing the interior decorating.
Brown chair and orchids.
Orchids. That is a very specific, somewhat unusual flower choice to have in a publishing office.
And then he drops a detail that feels like it was ripped straight out of a Sherlock Holmes novel. He says something about the lower right-hand desk drawer.
The lower right-hand desk drawer. Not the top drawer, not the left one. The lower right.
And he adds another sensory detail. Someone who visits her office seems to smoke cigars and place them in an ashtray on her desk.
And finally, a random connection with racing cars.
Now, I want you to imagine you are Rob. You're sitting in your living room in Elmira, New York. You have never been to this specific office in the city. You do not know these peripheral people intimately.
And Seth is just pulling this hyper-specific data out of the ether.
It sounds like a random, chaotic list of nouns until you look at the footnotes in the published book.
The verification. The note in the transcript says, on a December 7, 1968 visit, Tam verified 8 of the above impressions.
8 of them.
The cigars were real. The names were real. The Grossman connection was verified. The racing cars were real.
It completely changes the conversation, doesn't it?
It shifts the entire ground we are standing on, because if Seth can accurately see the contents of a specific desk drawer in a city miles away and know about a bad leg in a family,
then maybe, just maybe, he actually can write a book about the mechanical nature of reality.
Exactly. These hits are his credentials. He is showing his badge to the audience. He is saying, I am not a subconscious hallucination of Jane's. I am an independent observer with a vantage point you simply do not have.
Is the chill we promised at the start of the deep dive.
Yeah.
It is that unsettling feeling of, okay, the walls of this room are not nearly as solid as I thought they were.
And notice the brilliant pacing of this session. He does the ambitious book pitch, which is very high intellectual. He does the psychic detective work, which is high drama and proof.
And then he pivots again.
To something incredibly universally human.
He becomes a therapist.
Segment 3, the philosophy of noise.
This is Hands down my favorite part of the session because it is just so relatable to everyday life.
Oh, absolutely. Apparently, Rob, our faithful note-taker, was in a bit of a mood that night.
He was cranky, he was irritable, and the primary source of his irritation was noise.
Traffic outside, neighbors moving around, lawnmowers buzzing away.
The absolute unholy trinity of suburban life.
Who among us hasn't been there? You are trying to focus, maybe you're just trying to relax after a long day, and then out of nowhere, a leaf blower starts up right outside your window.
It drives you completely crazy. Your blood pressure spikes instantly.
And Rob was really letting it get to him. He was physically bracing against it. He was angry at the outside world for daring to be loud.
So Seth, acting as the bridge, decides to psychoanalyze this. And he doesn't just give surface-level advice like, well, buy some earplugs, Rob.
He goes deep into Rob's psyche. He asks the fundamental question: why does this specific noise bother you so much more than it bothers other people?
And the answer, as it so often does, goes straight back to childhood.
Always back to the parents. Seth tells Rob that noise, to him, represents undirected vitality.
Undirected vitality. That is such a fascinating, evocative phrase.
It means raw energy, chaos, life force that hasn't been tamed or put into a neat little box. Seth explains that Rob deeply associates this chaotic energy with his mother.
His mother.
Yes. Apparently, Rob's mother had a very erratic, highly emotional, undisciplined sort of energy about her. She was loud, she was unpredictable.
And on the flip side, Rob's father had an inhibited vitality. He was clamped down, quiet, controlled.
So Rob is the product of these two massive extremes. Total chaos on one side and total repression on the other.
And as a sensitive child, Rob felt incredibly threatened by the chaos. He felt that if he let that undirected vitality in, he would be swept aside. He would be destroyed by the emotional storm.
So fast forward to a random summer night in 1968. A loud truck drives by the house. It is noisy. It is chaotic.
And Rob's subconscious mind immediately screams, the storm is coming. Shields up.
He is not just hearing a truck on the street. He is feeling the existential threat of being overwhelmed by his mother's chaotic energy all over again.
Exactly. He is projecting an old, deep-seated fear onto a completely neutral current event. And because he feels threatened, he resists. He physically tenses his body. He mentally pushes back against the sound waves.
And that kind of constant resistance is exhausting.
It is draining his battery. Seth essentially tells him, you are using your precious energy to fight a battle that is already over.
So what is the actual solution here? Because this is the part that I think is so counterintuitive, and I think every single listener needs to hear this and internalize it.
Seth's direct advice is, do not fight them.
Do not fight the noise.
He goes even further than that. He says, purposely plunge into them.
Plunge into the sound of the leaf blower.
Plunge in. Go along with them as action, and they can refresh you.
That sounds almost impossible to me. If something is intensely annoying me, my instinct is to push it away. Seth says I should dive headfirst into it.
Think about being in the ocean. If a massive wave is coming right at you and you stand rigid and try to block it with your body, what happens?
You get completely knocked over, you swallow water, it hurts.
No. Right. But if you dive directly into the wave, if you move with the water's energy, it just passes right over you. You might even enjoy the ride.
So he is telling Rob to stop being a brick wall and start being water.
Essentially, yes. And he uses a very dense philosophical sentence here to explain the mechanics of it. He says, crystallization follows crystallized experience.
Okay, we need to unpack that one. Crystallization follows crystallized experience.
Let's break it down. Rob is an artist by trade. He paints. A finished painting is a crystallization. It is a structured, static, finished thing. It represents order.
Okay.
Seth is saying that you cannot create true order if you are terrified of chaos.
Because the chaos is the actual raw material.
Exactly. You have to fully experience the raw, messy, loud, crystallized experience of life first. You have to let the noise and the emotion flow through your system. Then and only then can you structure that raw energy into art.
If you block the raw material at the door just because it is too loud, you have an empty studio. You have nothing to paint with.
That is a profound psychological shift. You go from being a helpless victim of the noise to being an active consumer of it.
You are harvesting the energy from the annoyance. Seth promises that if Rob stops bracing against the irritation, it will literally liberate his intuition.
And there is a physical somatic side to this resistance, too.
Yeah.
Rob had been dealing with a stubborn pain in his left ear.
The psychosomatic connection. Seth points out that the left side of the body is often symbolically linked to the unconscious mind. And he brings up the symbolism of right and wrong.
Right and wrong.
Rob was judging the neighborhood noise as fundamentally wrong. He was actively trying to close his ear to the bad sounds. So his body literally created a physical pain in that ear to simulate the act of closing it off.
It is amazing how Seth effortlessly ties all these disparate threads together. The childhood trauma from his mother, the current artistic block, and the physical earache are all symptoms of the exact same problem.
And the solution is the same for all of them. Drop the shields, plunge in.
But Seth doesn't just leave it at vague acceptance. He gives Rob a practical technique, a specific mental exercise to practice this.
This brings us to segment 4, which is all about synesthesia.
This is the part I really want to try the next time I am stuck in traffic.
It is a brilliant way to gamify the annoyance. Seth tells Rob to take the noise, the traffic, the yelling, and consciously visualize it.
He uses the bowl of grapes analogy to explain how to do this.
He does. He points to a physical bowl of grapes sitting on their table. He says, imagine a talented musician looking at those grapes. The grapes are purely visual data. They're purple, they're round, they're shiny.
But the musician translates that visual data into a symphony of sound. Maybe the small, tight grapes become high, quick notes. The big, heavy ones become deep bass notes.
Right. They hear the image. That is synesthesia. Now, Seth tells Rob, who is a visual painter, to do the exact reverse of that process.
Take the invisible sound and force it to become visual.
He says turn the pulsating sounds into rhythm and color.
So when that loud truck rumbles by, do not just hear the rumble, see it. See jagged gray rocks tumbling down a hill.
Or a massive splash of dark, thick oil paint hitting a canvas. Or a vibrating neon red line.
Seth says, create a landscape that screams out as the voice did.
By doing this, you are actively engaging the creative, problem-solving part of your brain. You literally cannot be annoyed and creatively engaged at the exact same time. It uses different neural circuits.
So you are transforming the enemy into your art supplies.
Beautifully put. You are taking the undirected vitality of the noise and directing it into a mental portrait. You win the encounter.
And then, as he often does, Seth zooms out. Way, way out. He takes us to the atomic perspective.
He never stays local for very long, does he?
No, he asks them to imagine what sound looks like from the other end. The end where it isn't being intercepted by human ears.
He describes sound as an infinite dance of atoms impacting space. He says, realize also that the sounds penetrate the matter of your body.
Which is scientifically, physically true. Sound is a pressure wave. It literally moves the cells in your body when it hits you.
Seth wants Rob to feel that reality, to stop thinking of sound as an event that happens outside of him that he merely hears, and start experiencing it as a physical, intimate interaction with the fabric of the universe.
It is totally immersive. We are not isolated observers of reality. We are completely permeable to it.
We are porous. The world flows through us constantly, whether we want it to or not. Seth is saying, stop trying to be watertight. Let it flow.
So just to recap the journey we have been on tonight, we have had the ghostwriter pitching a book, we have had the psychic detective verifying desk drawers, we've had the deep psychoanalysis of noise trauma, and a masterclass in synesthetic art. It has been a wildly busy hour.
And as the session finally starts to wind down, we get a moment of genuine, unexpected sweetness.
We do. Seth formally wishes them a good evening, and he calls the entire session a birthday present.
Rob's birthday was June 20th. This session took place on June 24th. So this whole massive download of ideas, this burst of energy, was a literal gift for him.
And Rob, feeling maybe a little bold after all this, asks the question I think any of us would be dying to ask a spirit.
It is such a wonderfully human question.
Yeah.
He asks, do you have birthdays?
Like, hey, Seth, do you get a cake? Do you get a year older wherever you are?
And Seth's reply is just, it really stops you in your tracks.
He says, very many. I do not have birthdays now, but I have had many.
And then he adds, I had many death days, but I do not have those now either.
I had many death days.
It is a stark reminder of the massive scale of the entity they are speaking to. He has lived and died over and over again. He has been through the cycle that every single one of us is terrified of.
And he has come out the other side intact.
He doesn't have death days anymore. He just is.
It circles all the way back to his dry joke at the very beginning of the session. I have the time.
He has the time because he has completely exited the loop. He is standing outside of the timeline, looking in through the window, trying to help Rob with his earache and pitch a book idea.
It really puts our daily problems into a cosmic perspective, doesn't it? We are down here stressing out about the neighbor's leaf blower. Seth is looking at the infinite dance of atoms and essentially saying, it is okay. You have died before, you will live again. Just paint the picture.
It is strangely a very comforting thought. The idea that consciousness survives all of that chaos, that a sense of humor survives, that pure curiosity survives.
And that apparently even in the vast beyond of the afterlife, you still have to deal with editors and project deadlines.
Some things truly are universal. So, what is the core takeaway here? For someone listening to this while they are stuck in traffic on their commute or doing the dishes,
I think there are two massive takeaways. One is highly practical, the noise technique. Next time you feel that spike of irritation from a sound or an interruption, try the Seth shift. Do not block it. Plunge in. Visualize it. See if you can turn that annoyance into undirected vitality that you can actually use.
I am definitely trying that the next time my phone starts blowing up with notifications. And the second takeaway,
The second is much broader. It is about human potential. Seth calls himself a bridge personality. He deliberately constructed a version of himself to bridge the massive gap between his reality and ours.
right.
We can do that too in our own lives. We can build bridges. If you are stuck in a rut, if you are afraid of a new situation, if you are overwhelmed by chaos, you can consciously construct a mindset, a bridge to get you to the other side. You are not a fixed, rigid thing. You are fluid.
You are the active architect of your own experience.
Precisely.
Now, we have covered an immense amount of ground today, but I have to stress this to everyone listening. We are just scratching the surface. This was one single session, session 418. There are hundreds and hundreds of these transcripts.
Thousands of pages of material. And reading the original text for yourself is a completely different experience than just hearing us talk about it.
Yeah.
You get the unique rhythm of Seth's speech. You get the subtle nuances we couldn't cover.
So we strongly, strongly encourage you to go to the source. Do not just take our word for it. Dive in yourself.
You can find all the books, including the early sessions, at the New Awareness Network website. That URL is sethcenter.com/the early sessions.
Go there, pick up a book, read a session. It might just change how you look at your own desk drawer.
Or your neighbor's leaf blower.
Or the leaf blower. Thank you so much for diving deep with us today into the unknown.
It was an absolute pleasure.
Stay curious, everyone. We will see you in the next reality.